Good morning. Good morning, SDC. Hello, everybody. Test, test. Okay, I am live today on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and of course, SDC.com. And this is being recorded, so you can watch it later on YouTube. You can also watch it later on SDC.com if you want to share it with somebody else. But I want to just welcome you to How to Get Big Clit Energy. And this is a really exciting topic, and I think you're going to get a lot out of it. So I'm excited to hear your questions along the way. Feel free to leave questions in the chat, and I will certainly answer them before we're done. And it is starting right now. So 12 o'clock, we are right on time. I'm already live on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and SDC.com. And I can't wait to talk to you guys about this incredible topic, how to get big clit energy. But before I do that, I want to introduce myself. My name is Eve Hall, and I am the host and creator of a podcast called Please Me. And I am also the host of webinars on SDC.com, and I do these webinars twice a month. And I like to share information about sexual health. And so let me just tell you a little bit about my podcast first. My podcast is called Please Me, and it aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health. And I love talking about sexual health. I myself love to have sex, and I know how important it is to stay healthy in order to have the most incredible sex life. So I want that for everybody. And so I like to share this information with you. I am going to answer all of the questions at the end. That way I don't get distracted with the chain, but feel free to add as many questions and comments as you'd like in the messages, and I will answer them accordingly, okay, at the end. So just a little bit about myself. I am a licensed physical therapist, and I treat conditions of the pelvic floor and sexual health conditions. So I treat issues such as incontinence. I treat issues such as erectile dysfunction. And more specifically for women, I treat conditions such as decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. And that is really the equivalent of the male's erectile dysfunction. And the reason is that there's a blood flow issue with both of those conditions. So erectile dysfunction, if you're talking about the physical issue, there's a lot that goes into erectile function, and there's mental issues and all of that. But I'm just talking about the physical issue is a blood flow problem. And for decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness, it is also a blood flow problem. So I'm going to talk to you about the treatments that I do later, not right now, because I really want to get into what big clit energy is. Okay. And a lot of people will hear that term, right? And a lot of people think, that's not something that I have heard about, but I have heard about big dick energy, right? But the female equivalent of big dick energy is big clit energy. And it is the confidence that women have, or if you have a clit, okay, anyone who has a clit, it is the confidence that we have when we are having amazing sex lives and we are having orgasms on a regular basis, and we are enjoying our sexual freedom and liberation. And that energy, that confidence in the bedroom translates to all areas of our life. It translates to the boardroom. It translates to the webinars I do. It translates for me to the podcasts that I host, and the conversations that I have with people. And so that energy is really a confidence. A lot of times people will think, oh, well, big dick energy or big clit energy, it has a lot to do with the size of your parts, right? Well, truthfully, it has nothing to do with the size of our parts. It has more to do with the confidence that we feel when we are having amazing sex lives. Okay. And that is what big clit energy is all about. Now, women have, varying sizes of our clitoris, right? So a normal clitoris can be from 0.2 to or to 3.5 centimeters in length. And so there's a huge variation in the way the clitoris can look. And I want to point out too that the clitoris is a large organ, even though only a small part of it is visible from the external part of your body, right? So we will often see the clitoral glands, and that's what a lot of people will think of as the clit, right? Or the clitoris, but it actually is a very extensive organ, and it is almost the size of a male's penis, actually, and it's very internal to the female anatomy. So some of it runs underneath the vulva, and some of it runs inside the vaginal canal. So there's a lot of different areas that you can stimulate in order to stimulate the clitoris. It's not just the little glands on the outside. So the little glands on the outside is equivalent to the male's penis, the glans penis, which is the little mushroom top, right? And so that is the equivalent in the woman. And the head of the penis has about 6,000 nerve endings, okay? But it is a much larger area than the woman's glands, clitoral glands. So the woman's clitoral gland has about 8,000 nerve endings. Okay, so it has, not only does it have more nerve endings than the male's penis, it's a smaller surface area. So those nerve endings are very tightly put together in that very small space. And so it's very, very sensitive and can bring a woman amazing pleasure. Not just one orgasm, right? But multiple orgasms. And so I want all women to know how amazing our bodies are. And they truly, truly are. And, I love when men are just as interested in this topic as women, because men or our partners, whoever our partners may be, will be the ones who are going to help us to stimulate all of those amazing nerve endings to bring us incredible pleasure. So again, the woman, the female anatomy is just such an amazing thing. And the more I learn about it, and the more I talk to experts about it on my podcast, the more I myself am learning and able to share with you about all of the things that I've learned. So I want to say that the number one most important thing to get that confidence and that big clit energy is for a woman to really know her own body. Okay. It is so important for a woman to know what turns you on. Okay. And not just mentally, but physically as well. Right. So how do you get there? What are the steps that get you there. And there are many women out there that may be listening to this and have never even had an orgasm before. And that makes me really sad. And so this is why I really like to talk about this, because we have the ability to have multiple orgasms. And if you are not experiencing that, it's because there are certain things that you may not be doing right? But there's nothing wrong with you per se. You just need to learn your body. And that is really, really important. I always like to talk on my podcast about the orgasm gap. And the orgasm gap is specifically a phenomenon where men in coupled heterosexual relationships have way more orgasms than women do. So, depending on the type of relationship, and this goes across the board from hookups all the way to coupled married partnerships. Okay. And so, just one of those statistics, and I'll just let you know what that is that 95% of men in coupled penetrative sex tend to have orgasms. But for women, the number is much lower. It's only in the 60s. It's about 64% of women will have orgasms with coupled penetrative sex. And so there is a reason for that, okay? Number one is what we normally see in the media is penetration. And penetration, although it is amazing and lovely and feels great, is how men orgasm. But for a woman, only 3 to 5% of women can orgasm from penetration alone. And so I think it's really so important for all people to understand that, so that we understand what the female stimulation is in order to get a woman there. Okay, 95% of women need external clitoral stimulation in order to orgasm. So you can do that separately, or you can do it in conjunction with penetration as well. And both of those ways are ways that women can orgasm. And every woman is different. Okay, so it's not, once you've figured out the puzzle for one, you can kind of across the board, do the exact same thing for everybody, right? That's not the case. You really need to find out what your partner loves, and that is really based a lot on communication. And so I love to talk about communication between partners, and I'm talking about communication from hookups all the way to marriage, okay? And everything in between. Communication is so key for all aspects of sexuality. And if you're not communicating with your partner and you're not telling your partner what feels good and what doesn't feel good, you may end up in that 80% of women that say that they have in some time in their lives faked an orgasm. And that is just a waste of time. I really say that, faking it is just the worst thing that you can do, because what you're doing is you're teaching your partner what you don't like. And that is not a helpful situation. And, from partners that I've heard of, that have gotten the news that their partner was faking it, they were not happy about that, because, they really do want to please you. And so communicating what you like is so, so important with your partner. And sometimes you have to start small. Maybe this is a conversation that you've never had before, okay? And you really need to start small, but I always say that aftercare, or that time after having sex, is always a great time to bring up your favorite playlist, okay? All of the things that your partner did that you really, really enjoyed, because we want them to take note of those things so that they can do it again. All right. And it's not a time to be critical and to say, I didn't like this, I didn't like this. It is a time to be positive and to really connect with your partner and experience that afterglow, right? And it's a great time to tell your partner those things that you really, really loved. So I always encourage people as well to experiment. Okay, experiment with different things. And so, there are many, many ways that women can have an orgasm. And it's interesting because when you look at the human brain, when a woman is orgasming, the part of the brain that's lighting up is the clitoris. But sometimes other parts of our bodies can sort of make that connection to the clitoris and can light that part of the brain up, even though the body is not being stimulated directly on the clitoris. And so some other areas of non-erogenous zones that can become erogenous zones are, for instance, your breasts, your nipples, your toes, your inner thigh, the back of your neck. So many different areas of your body that are not necessarily considered quote unquote erogenous zones. But our bodies were built for pleasure, and we have pleasure receptors from head to toe. If you've ever gotten a massage and someone has massaged your scalp so good, you know what I'm talking about. I mean, it can really be a turn on. So, really thinking outside the box when you're having intimate time, and experimenting with, toys, experimenting with different lubes, experimenting with different positions, um, thinking outside of the box in terms of whether you want to try a little bit of BDSM. And what's really interesting, when I did a podcast about S&M and about BDSM and kink and fetishes, I found that 45% of Americans consider themselves kinky. So it is a huge area of population, and it is not, something that only a few fringe people are experimenting with. So don't be shy and ask your partner for that, booty slap or whatever you think might turn you on. Maybe it's, tying you up. Maybe it's blindfolding you. Maybe it's, running feathers or some other type of ice or something warm along the surface of your body to really ignite that those nerve endings. Those nerve endings, again, are all over your body. So you want to really focus on your whole body, not just your genitals. And so now I want to talk a little bit about the sexual response cycle. And for men, it takes men about 3 to 5 minutes to get ready, okay, for sex. And, some people will say it takes 30 seconds, it just depends on the man, but it really is not a very long time. A man can become erect as long as his erectile function is normal. He can become erect pretty quickly. But for a woman, and what's interesting is that women also, a lot of people don't know this, but women also need a quote unquote hard on in order to be ready for penetrative sex. Okay. And we want to really get that vulva fully engorged before penetration. And for women, it takes about 20 to 25 minutes for a woman to become fully engorged and prepared for sexual sexy time, right? So really being conscious of that. And so that's why I personally, and, some people will disagree with me, and that is completely fine, but I personally don't like quickies. Okay. For me, a quickie is like 30 minutes. That's a quickie for me because I really need to have myself ready before anything goes down. So really paying attention to getting that vulva engorged and that clitoris engorged is really, really important. And you can do that in so many different ways. I mean, there are such a variety of toys out there. And I personally love my Rosie, and I always talk about my little Rose because, and the reason why I like it, and I'm just going to go into it here because a lot of times people are like, oh, well, I see that everywhere. And what's the big deal? What is the big deal about that one particular toy? And, I'm not getting sponsored or anything by talking about it. But what I really love about that toy is that it has a very large surface area. And if you have decreased vaginal sensitivity, you need to really stimulate more area. And so, that particular toy has a very big surface area. So the more surface area, the better. Oh, I have someone here from the Netherlands, and I would love for you guys to tell me where you're viewing from. This is, and I forgot to say this at the beginning, but this is a Please Me Health Collective event. And Please Me Health Collective is my group that I formed on SDC.com. And SDC.com is the premier ethically non-monogamous dating site. And it also has a wealth of information and articles about sex, sexuality, kink. I mean, you name it, it's on there. And there are incredible educational resources on there as well. So if you are listening and you are not on SDC.com, because I have a lot of people listening from SDC.com, but if you are listening on Instagram, if you're listening on Facebook, or if you're listening on YouTube, you can use my promo code 37340 and you can get a free trial membership. And the trial memberships are able to watch my webinars as well. And if you love the site, join, because it is an amazing dating site. It's worldwide. There are people from all over the world who are on the site. And it's an incredible dating site. So I have someone here from the Netherlands. Welcome. And for those of you listening, let me know where you're listening from today. So we were talking about different experimentation when it comes to thinking outside of the box in the bedroom. And I like to, sometimes I like to watch porn when I masturbate. Okay. I don't typically use it when I'm, having sexy time, but I do like to use it when I masturbate. And I want to point out to you that, a lot of porn is very male oriented, and it really focuses on male pleasure. So I would, if you're a woman looking for some porn that can get you turned on, I would search some female created porn, because female created porn definitely focuses more on the female response cycle, and shows things like oral sex and things that are going to really turn a woman on, more so than just penetration. And visually, I find penetration to be a turn on for sure. But definitely checking out female created porn is something that I would recommend you do. So yes, absolutely. So we were just talking about experimentation, and I think I went through everything I wanted to talk about, and I bet that there's a lot of different ideas out there. So if you have ideas on things that you've done, that you have experimented with, that have really been a big turn on, make sure you comment to me about that. So another thing that I want to say is that masturbation is absolutely normal, okay? And it's absolutely recommended, okay? And actually for men, if you masturbate or you ejaculate 22 times or more per month, it actually decreases the risk of prostate cancer. So I think it's necessary. I say it's necessary it's necessary to know your body, right? So you can communicate that with your partner. But for men, it's really necessary in order to decrease your risk of prostate cancer. So, sometimes men will, withhold their ejaculation for days or sometimes even months. And I don't even know where that comes from, but that is not a healthy practice. And I don't subscribe to that. So I definitely say masturbate as many times as you can, get away with. And, a lot of times, men will tell me, that they masturbate even during their work day, and they'll go to the bathroom and masturbate. And so for women, I say, you can do the same thing. It is such a stress reliever when you're having a stressful day, and I have this really great little vibrator that looks like a necklace. And it's like a little long wand, and it looks just like, a little necklace. It does not look anything like a vibrator. But for those who know, and it's a great little tool to, put on around your neck and slip off to the bathroom when you have a minute during the day. If you need a stress reliever, because it really is a stress reliever, and it helps to calm you down. It releases endorphins and all of the feel-good chemicals in your body, so that you can really be, walk out of the bathroom with that big smile on your face, and enjoy the rest of your meetings or for the day, or whatever you need to do. So definitely masturbation is something that I highly, highly recommend for men and for women. I want to jump in here now and talk about lube. Lube is so important because women do create their own lubrication. And, the younger you are, the more lubrication you're going to produce. As women get older, they produce less and less lubrication. But even when women are in their 20s, right? If you're having a play session that's, lasting 30 minutes, 40 minutes, an hour, 2 hours or more, the friction from that is going to evaporate any lube that, natural lubrication that you can produce. And so it's really, really important to have, your lube next to your bed, and always use it, all throughout the whole event, because, over time, the friction will evaporate what you've produced, and even will evaporate the lube that you've used. So sometimes you need to reapply and reapply. So keeping that nearby is really key. Does anybody have a favorite lube? I personally love coconut oil, and it is a natural lubricant. It really works great. It smells good. It tastes good. There are many, many lubes on the market. And so you that's one of the things that you can experiment with and try to find the one that you really love the most, that works the best with your body. I will say that coconut oil, as much as I love it, is not a really good lube to use if you use condoms. And if you are on SDC.com and you are in the ethically non-monogamous world, and maybe you're a swinger, maybe you like to have multiple partners, whatever that may be, it's so important to find a lube that is going to work well with protection and with condoms. So think about that when you're choosing your lube as well. For women, our vaginal canals and our vaginas need to have a pH that is low. And so you want to find a lube too that has a low pH. And that's going to help with your vaginal health, keeping it nice and healthy for the next, playtime. So thinking about that as well. And sometimes boric acid is something that's useful to use after a play session, so that you can make sure that you maintain that low pH, so that you're not, leaving yourself open for infections. Okay, someone says they like Nookie Lube and it's water-based. And they say it's sold on Amazon. So thank you so much for that tip. And then someone else said Sweetums wipes. I've never used those wipes, but I no longer have little kids, but since I started having kids, I've never stopped buying wipes because they are so useful. And so I just use regular wipes. But I'm curious about those. So I will definitely check them out. And I also have a line of products that I recommend, or a website called Organic Lovin's. And I will definitely share that with you if you guys are interested. And I can share my link with you. But Organic Lovin's has really amazing products on there. And they have great lubes, they have great toys, they have books about sexuality. I mean, it's an amazing website. So definitely recommend it. And the founder of it, Taylor Sparks, is actually also a member on SDC.com. So check out her profile. And she also has a podcast as well. Another thing I want to talk about now, and we talked about, I just brought up briefly infections, right? So vaginal infections can be really, really common. And the older we get, the more common they become. They become. And I'm going to tell you why. So as women age, they lose, each month, with each cycle, the woman will lose an egg, right? And from their ovary. And the eggs are in the ovaries and they produce something called estrogen. Okay. And estrogen is a hormone that is key to women's sexual health. And when you don't have enough estrogen, your body starts to break down the tissue of the vaginal lining, the tissue of the opening of the bladder, the tissue that lines the tube that goes from the bladder out of the body is covered in receptors that are estrogen receptors. So the less estrogen you have, the less healthy that tissue is going to become. And so what happens over time is that women start to lose the plumpness of their tissue, the elasticity of their tissue, and that tissue starts to break down. And sometimes we don't really think about, the internal surface of our bodies having a layer of skin. But that layer of skin is super, super important to remain healthy. And if you don't have enough estrogen as you get older, your body decreases the amount of estrogen because over the years, you're losing an egg each month, right? And so the ability for your body to produce more estrogen diminishes because your body no longer has those eggs to produce estrogen. They're created, it's created in the ovaries. So we can supplement that estrogen. And I myself have been searching for, something to help me. And I found a product called Parlor Games. And just so you guys know, I just interviewed the owner and creator of Parlor Games. And today was the day that our podcast dropped. So I definitely recommend you listening to that podcast because she is such a wealth of information. She calls herself a quote unquote biochem nerd, and she has been working in the space of hormones for many, many years. And she's an incredible expert. And I just interviewed her, and today our podcast dropped. And her name is Kate Wells, and she really explained the estrogen receptors, in a way that was so interesting and so clear to me, and made me really understand why, a lack of estrogen can cause something as unsexy as incontinence. And incontinence is a sexual health issue. A lot of people don't really think of it as a sexual health issue, but if you have incontinence, you will definitely know that it is a sexual health issue. And here we're not talking about squirting for the sake of enjoyment. We're talking about peeing when you don't want to pee. Okay. And so this is not a sexy thing for women. And when you're jumping rope at the gym and you can't go beyond, 20 jumps because you start to pee on yourself, or you're sneezing or laughing, and suddenly, oops, you release a little urine. It's not a comfortable situation for women. And I have to say that since I started using parlor games, and I was on a search myself for something that would help me, since I started using parlor games, that issue of incontinence, that stress incontinence, has disappeared. And there are all levels of incontinence, from mild to severe. And so if you are experiencing that, make sure that you treat it, because there is treatment for it. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about that right now. So estriol is a very safe form of estrogen. And what you want to do is create a reservoir of estriol. A reservoir meaning, you have enough of it in your body so that when your body needs it, it has it there to use. And like I said before, the bladder and the opening of the bladder, the way that Kate explained it was that the opening of the bladder has these estrogen receptors, and she did this, right? And so here's your bladder up here, my hands, and this is the opening of your bladder. And when you are sneezing, coughing, jumping, right, and the skin of your of the internal surface of your vagina and your bladder and all of that doesn't have enough estrogen, what happens is it becomes weak. The tissue becomes weak, and sometimes it can develop little micro tears. And so when you sneeze, it opens a little bit. Or because the muscles are no longer as strong as they should be. And it's not necessarily because you're not doing Kegels. I mean, Kegels are important, and definitely strengthening the pelvic floor is super important. But if you don't have enough estrogen, no matter what, your tissue is not going to be healthy, and you're not going to have the strength and the tensor strength of that tissue in order to maintain healthy function. So I definitely recommend using Parlor Games estriol cream, and their cream is called Silky Peach Cream. That's their estriol cream. And they also have another cream, and it's a progesterone cream. And progesterone is also super, super important for the body. So I use them both, and I cycle every 2 weeks. For 2 weeks, I do the estrogen. The other 2 weeks, I do the progesterone. Everybody is going to do it in a different way because, depending on whether you're in menopause, perimenopause, postmenopause, and how long you've been taking the products. So initially, you want to kind of build up your reservoir, but once you have that reservoir, you may not need as much of the product. So really listening to your body and trying to figure that out. And then that company itself offers a wealth of information about how to use their products, and they're amazing about sharing information. So I would really recommend you checking that out, and feel free to reach out to me if you want more information, and I can share with you my links to those products. So we were talking a lot about the tissue, right? And the tissue, when you don't have enough estrogen, can create little tiny micro tears. And little tiny micro tears, you may not see them because they're internal, but they're there because you don't have enough hormones. And so what that can cause is painful sex. And if you suddenly start experiencing painful sex when you've never had painful sex before, most likely it's because you don't have enough estrogen. So these are all conditions that I treat in my physical therapy practice. I treat prolapse, painful sex, incontinence, erectile dysfunction, and the female equivalent, which is dryness and decreased vaginal sensitivity. So I'm going to go into that next. Let me just have a little coffee here. I made my coffee this morning and I'm drinking it now. So I'm a little behind here. So, oh, someone's here from Greece. Welcome. Welcome. So let's talk about vaginal dryness. And this is going to pertain also to erectile dysfunction. So if you're listening out there and that's something that you are interested in learning about, I'm going to talk about this treatment that treats both erectile dysfunction and decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. So I mentioned earlier that the vagina and the vulva and the clitoris has to get a hard on, right? It has to get engorged in order to be ready for sex. And what that means is that the blood needs to flow to that area and plump it up. Just like the blood flows to the penis and plumps it up, the clitoris also needs to be plumped up. And what happens over time is that blockages form in our arteries and our blood vessels. And when those blockages form, no longer can blood flow through them. And so that is what causes the physical manifestation of erectile dysfunction and also causes the physical manifestation of dryness and decreased vaginal sensitivity. And so when you don't have enough blood flow, you're not going to be able to get that quote unquote engorged hard on for a woman or a regular erection for a man. And what the treatment does, and it's a treatment called acoustic wave therapy. And some of you may have heard of that before. This may be new to some people. It's also known as Gaines wave. But acoustic wave therapy is the therapy that is also called Gaines wave, okay? And what it does is it was developed for breaking up kidney stones, okay? And so it goes into the tissue and it breaks up blockages inside your blood vessels. And when your blood vessels are blocked, or they're narrowed because of the food that we eat. And if we eat a lot of cholesterol, and if we eat any kind of meat, and if we eat eggs, and if we eat, fatty foods, those things can block up our arteries. And so it's very, very important to try to unblock those arteries to increase that blood flow. And so acoustic wave therapy is a sound wave therapy that is used like a wand, like an ultrasound wand, and gel is applied to the tissue, whether it be the penis or whether it be the vulva, the clitoris, the inner thigh, because the inner thigh has blood vessels that are flowing to that whole area, right? To bring the blood to your genitals. So when you use this treatment and it treats that whole area, the inner thigh, the vulva, the mons, the clitoris, and even a small part of the internal surface of the vaginal canal. And what it does is it breaks up those blockages and it allows those blockages to safely flow out of your body. And over time, once you've gotten several treatments, and I usually recommend 6 treatments for prevention, 10 treatments for mild dysfunction, 14 treatments for moderate dysfunction, and 18 treatments for severe dysfunction. And if you're wondering, oh, I wonder what kind of dysfunction I have, you can reach out to me. And usually during the evaluation, when I see you in my office, we discuss your history, your symptoms, and all of that, and try to figure out where you fall in terms of how much dysfunction you have. But I always say that, number 1, prevention is the best medicine. Number 2, if you're experiencing any symptoms at all, treating it sooner than later is the best way to go. Because if you wait until it becomes severe, it may have taken you years and years to get to that point. And a lot of times people will neglect that area of their life and, say, oh, well, that's just normal aging or whatever. My function is, it's something that they kind of put off, or maybe sometimes they feel ashamed or embarrassed to talk to their doctors about it. And so they put it off and put it off and put it off for years and years. until it gets to the point where it's in the severe stage. When it's in the severe stage, it's going to be much more difficult to treat than if you catch it early on. So if you're experiencing any kind of vaginal dryness, any kind of decreased sensitivity, any kind of erectile dysfunction, and I will say too, for erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation is one of the symptoms of erectile dysfunction. And a lot of people don't realize that. So if you're experiencing premature ejaculation too, reach out to a practitioner that can help you. And I'm in Palm Beach County. That's where I live in Florida. And I have people coming to me from all over the place, all over Florida, and sometimes even out of state. People will fly in and get treatment because it really is so helpful. And I find that, even after one treatment, almost, I would say 100% of my clients will experience some positive change even after their first treatment. But why I recommend multiple treatments is because the treatments build over time. And not only that, they help to create more capillary formation. And the capillaries are the teeny tiny blood vessels that go to every single cell in your body. So when you have more capillaries, you're going to have more blood flow. And when you have more blood flow, you're going to have harder erections and you're going to have wetter, wilder sex, right? And so we want all of our parts to be functioning at 100% capacity so that when it's time for sexy time, we are ready with, all of the things that are going to be necessary for us to be able to become engorged or erect. So let's see where we're at here. So that is acoustic wave therapy. And again, if anybody is interested, please reach out to me about that. You can go to pleaseme.online, which is my website for my podcast, but you can also reach me there. And, if you're listening to me on SDC.com, just send me a message. I am always here to help, to, answer questions, to set up appointments. I also am a certified health coach, and I love to help people with sexual function and dysfunction and sexuality in general. So don't be shy and, certainly reach out to me and say hi. I want to mention here too that you can also call me, and I belong to a website, or actually it's an app, and it's called OWL, OWWLL. And that is a place that you can actually reach me directly. You can call me there, and we can have a conversation. And I love talking to people. It's part of what I do. I like helping people. And it's a place where you can call me and pick my brain and ask me as many questions as you'd like. And if you use the code EH576472, you will get $10 to use free on the app. And if you have that, if you get that promotion, you can call me for free. So write down that number, OWL app. And you know what? I'll just pop it in here in case anybody wants to give me a call after this. It's oops, that's a W. Hold on. EH576472. Okay. For you out there on SDC. And I have it over here on my other lives. So I have that pop up. And so we talked about that. Again, I know what else I want to talk to you guys about, because this is so important. Okay. So we're talking about sexual health, but sexual health is part of our overall health. And one of the most important things that you can do for your body is to eat lots and lots of fruits and vegetables. Okay. Fruits and vegetables are what allows our body to cleanse. Okay. The nutrients from the fruits and vegetables, one, they give our bodies what they need for the cells to be healthy. Okay. And two, they cleanse our body of, all of the toxins that are, put on our skin, sometimes ingested. So eating lots and lots of fruits and vegetables is key. So for women, women should eat between 7 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. And for men, men should eat between 10 to 13 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. And the average American eats 1.5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. So overall, we are, in a very calorie rich society, but a very nutritionally poor society. So the more fruits and vegetables you eat, the better. A serving, so that you know, is the size of your fist. So it depends on your body size. So my serving is going to be different than, a guy that's 6'4". But having as many fruits and vegetables as possible is key. And I like to recommend a product that gives you the nutrition of 30 fruits and vegetables in your body every single day. And I do not go a day without taking that product. Because there are some days where, I'm good and I eat all of my, fruits and vegetables for the day. And I really try and make an effort to do that. But, sometimes life gets in the way, you get busy and you go through that drive-through, or you're, in a hurry and you're not eating the best that you can. And this really bridges the gap between what you should be eating and what you do eat. So taking that as sort of like my health, quote unquote insurance is like really important for me. And so if you're interested in that, you can find the information about those products on my website, pleaseme.online. And you can also just reach out to me and ask me, or even call me on the OWL app, like I mentioned before. So I'm going to give you another tip here. And I think that this tip is a really amazing one. And I've talked about it multiple times, and I always talk about it every single time I give a talk about vaginal health or, genital health in general, is watermelon. Okay. And the reason why I love to talk about watermelon is because it has a natural chemical in it called citrulline. And citrulline is basically a natural Viagra. It opens up the blood vessels in your body to allow your blood to flow more. And if you have watermelon every day, you are going to naturally help your body to have more blood flow to your genitals. So, so you think, oh, how much should I have, right? So there are a couple of different types of watermelon. There are yellow watermelons and there are red watermelons. Yellow watermelons have a lot more citrulline. They have 4 times the amount of citrulline than red watermelon. Now, I can never find the yellow one, so I always just get the red one. For red watermelon, you want to have 4 cups of watermelon per day. And I challenge you to try this for a week and do what I call my Please Me Watermelon Challenge. And if you do that for a week, I would love to hear what your results are. And everybody that has tried this and has reached out to me has said that it has made an incredible difference in their erectile function and in their wetness as well. So definitely give the watermelon a try. It's easy. You just go to the grocery store, and, sometimes watermelons aren't in season. It's always best to eat things that are seasonal. But, in the US, we can usually get watermelon all year round because we're, importing fruits and vegetables from all over the world. So, it's great to eat locally, but if you're going to try the watermelon challenge, you can really probably try it any time of year. And then I want to mention one last thing that I think is so key and so important. Our stem cells are super, super important. And I'm sure that a lot of you have heard about stem cell technology. It's something that's been kind of growing and growing in the last 10 or so years. And I recently discovered on one of my podcast episodes, I interviewed a woman named Darlene Green. So I suggest that you go back and listen to this because she was such a wealth of information, and I could not be able to explain everything that she explained during that podcast. But I'm going to tell you a little bit about the stem cell technology that she introduced me to. So this technology is in patch form. And what it does is it makes your body create its own stem cells. It sort of ignites your ability to create your own stem cells. And you put a little patch on your body. They're like the size of a quarter, and what it does is it's a light technology, and it uses the light that's coming off of your body. So we all have an aura, we all have light in our body. It's, you don't really see it, but it does exist, right? And so the patch is feeling that light coming off your body, and it's igniting the stem cells in your body to be produced. And what that does is it helps every cell in your body to produce, to turn over and to regenerate. And all of our cells in our bodies need to regenerate. So, for your mouth, your tongue, every 12 to 14 days, the cells of your tongue turn over. So when you're starting like a new, eating plan or whatever, your taste buds actually can change over a course of a couple of weeks. And so every single one of your cells in your body will turn over in 1 year. And every type of cell is different. I'm not going to go into all of the different cells and how long it takes for each one to turn over. But just know that in a year, every single one of your cells from head to toe will turn over and will regenerate. And so it's really important to have healthy stem cells, because stem cells are the precursor to every single type of cell that you have, whether it be your hair cells, your eye cells, your tongue cells, your genital cells. They all need to turn over and regenerate. And so this technology helps your body to produce more stem cells. And as we age, the ability of our bodies to create stem cells diminishes. And so if you help your body to create more stem cells, it's going to help your body to turn over all of the cells in your body, and it's going to make you healthier. And what I find really interesting is that, although this stem cell technology is not technically, geared towards sexual health, what many people have found is that once they start taking these products, it helps them with things that they're experiencing. If they're experiencing sexual health issues like incontinence, like decreased sensitivity, like erectile function, like libido, like energy, all of those things, right? It also helps them to become younger from the inside out, and that translates to the bedroom 100%. So if that's something that you are interested in too, just feel free to reach out to me, and I can direct you to the right place so that you can order them. And again, go back to the podcast with Darlene Green and listen to that podcast as well. There are so many different things that I've learned since I started doing the podcast. And I was already a sexual health physical therapist, and I was already treating people with acoustic wave therapy and helping them with, all of these pelvic floor issues that can occur. And it's interesting because, we think of these things as things that happen to people as they get older. But, a lot of people that experience cancer treatment go into early menopause because of the treatments. So it's not just an issue of older people. It is an issue of anybody that has experienced, cancer and has gone through treatments. And unfortunately, cancer is up 70%. It's thought that one in I'm not sure if I'm going to say this right. I think it's 1 in 3 men, or 1 in 3 women, and 1 in 2 men, something like that. It's either 30 or 50% of people will experience cancer in their lifetime. And that is a huge number. I mean, you cannot ignore, how prevalent cancer has become. So really trying to take care of our bodies and trying to mitigate and trying to avoid getting cancer is key, right? And so eating tons of fruits and vegetables is number one. Number two is, making sure that your body is turning those cells over at a healthy rate, and making sure that you have enough estrogen. All of these things are so, so important. And, about 20 years ago, estrogen was considered something unsafe for women. And that was because there was like an article that was published, and it went everywhere. It went viral, right? Before viral was the thing. And then doctors stopped recommending women to have estrogen and progesterone replacement and hormone replacement. And all of that has been debunked, and it is absolutely safe to replenish your stores of estrogen and progesterone. So if that's you out there listening, make sure that you check out Parlor Games. There are many other companies too, but that is my absolute fave, and I recommend them highly. I wish all of you. I've been talking for a whole hour straight, and I can't believe that the time has gone by so quickly. But I wish all of you, the ability to get your big clit energy on, because I think that having that confidence in the bedroom is going to bring you happiness in your life, and that happiness is going to translate to all the areas of your life. So I do wish all of you to have that big clit energy. So thank you all for listening, and I'm going to disconnect from Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube first. And I'm going to stay on SDC so that I can look at all of the comments that you guys have left for me today and chit chat with you guys for a few minutes. So thank you all for joining this webinar called How to Get Big Clit Energy. And again, it was a Please Me Health Collective event. So be on the lookout for the next one. I do 2 per month, and I always really enjoy bringing this information to you. So until next time.